Today I'll be showing you how to swap the 93-97 Mazda 626 door handles with chrome handles. There are two versions of this. The chrome handles for these came out of a Mazda Protege, and the Mazda Protege has the full width handle. The 5th generation Mazda 626, which is a 98 to 2002, would have a cut right here, and this part right here would actually be a lock mechanism that you could flip open or closed, so it's a separate piece. And that same piece is also found on the 1993 to 1997 Mazda MX6. Even though the 626 and the MX6 are very similar between the 4th gen and the 2nd gen, when it comes to the door handles, the Mazda MX6 has more in common with the 5th gen 626 that has the separate lock. But here we will be dealing with the 626 full handle and the Protege full chrome handle. I wouldn't bother making a video if I didn't have such a tough time taking these apart the first time. There is a trick to it, and you have to do it in the right order, otherwise you're gonna have a real bad day, and it's gonna be real hard for me to film this, but I'm gonna try. Now notice that this little piece right here is broken. That is not going to affect the way the handle performs in any way, because the most important thing is where these pins are held, and as long as these pins are held in the housing right here, then the door mechanism will still work. The person that pulled this for me broke it. No, it wasn't Andy. It was a long time ago, but it's broken, and it's not a big deal at all. I'm not worried about it. If it was, I wouldn't be using it. So the first thing to do in order to get your handle out, you're going to need some PB Blaster. There's a real tiny pin in there, and you have to shoot PB Blaster down there because it's a metal pin, and there's a better shot. It's a metal pin, and you have to lube that up so that it rotates freely in there and will move up and down, because what we're going to try and do is shoot this pin through, and we're going to do that by using a Torx set, and I have a Torx bit that will fit right on there. And you don't want to use like a nail, for example, because then that is just going to mushroom it out. So you want to have a good full seat around that ring, and this just so happens to fit right on top of there to where it's not going to mushroom, and it's not going to push the metal in any direction other than straight down, which is what I need. And I think I'm using I think this is a T15 Torx bit. Either PB Blaster or WD-40, really doesn't matter. This pin has kind of a locking mechanism. It has teeth all the way through. It's not a straight cylinder, it has teeth. So if you mushroom out those teeth, you're not going to get this thing to move at all. So you have to be very careful when you hammer this out. Because of those teeth, there is a real small gap in between the teeth, so when you shoot the PB Blaster out, it is going to come out of the teeth on the side of the spring. When you shoot your PB Blaster in here, that there's stuff coming out by the spring, it's normal. It's just the way that the pin is laid out, and you'll see once I get the pin out. There we go. Now I know that's all the way through there. Take a rag, wipe off the excess, and yes, this will get really slippery while you're working with it, and because of that it will kind of get a little bit frustrating as well. Now you have to decide which side of the spring you're going to shoot out first. Should you do it up this way, or should you do it up that way? And it does make a difference. The side that does not have the long handle, this side is the one you want to shoot the pin up out of first, because this piece right here will not have a lot of free play in here. This part of the housing, you want to be able to pull that out, and then you're going to knock the pin back through the other side, and then you'll be able to take it out. So let's go ahead and try and do that. And it's easier said than done trying to knock this thing through here. And no, you will not be able to just push it through. You will need a hammer. It's getting there. Alright, did you hear that snap? That snap was the spring unloading. And I'll show you what that looks like in a second here. And in order to take this out, you just pinch this side together and push out through the top. Just that pin needs to travel a little bit further. There we go. Now it's out. This spring here is what unloaded. In its normally resting position, it is on the other side over here, and it sits in that tiny little groove there. So when you put this back together, that spring has to go in there. However, when you put it back together, you'll notice that the spring is now on the other side of this piece right here. And it's really difficult in order to pull the spring back while you put this in place and get the pins in. It's a juggling act for sure. And that's why I'm making this video, so you can see how it's done. Okay, so here is my other one. As you'll note, the actual tabs, locking tabs that go down there, I mean, everything is exactly the same. It's just, this is chrome. Clean that all off. Now your pin in here should be lubricated. Oh, maybe I'll just use my lighter. I'll just dangle it off the side of the lighter there. And I dented my lighter, but whatever. Okay, now that you have your pin all put through, and you can go ahead and slide that side in, right? And then you proceed to hammer. Hammer time. You hammer that pin back into place. Make sure that it's going in. It's going in. Alright, and that's sticking out just a little bit, and that amount of travel, it's not good. But because this one pin is already stuck in here, it wants to keep this housing straight, so you're going to have a hard time actually keeping this outside of here in order to hit it. Now we have this pin hammered flush. Okay, that pin is flush, but now we have to deal with getting this and wrapping it around the other side of the spring, and that is not an easy task. So what I've been doing is taking a flat blade screwdriver and pushing that pin, and I'll just release this so you can hear how much under tension this spring is. It's under a lot of tension there, so it's not easy. You want to keep it popped out and then push that spring down through there. Easier said than done, and I'm sure this is probably going to take me about 5 or 10 minutes. You know, as soon as you get that pin in the groove, snap this down and you hammer that pin through. You don't take any chances of that spring popping back out. And once you get your pin through, then you'll be able to pull your lever up and down and be just fine, and that's job done. Until that happens, this is the hardest part of the job right here. This is going to take you a while. Okay, I forgot to mention that more than likely you are not going to get it in the groove. You're going to get it to the right of the groove after you push it through, and which I've done. I pushed it through, and now it's sitting on top of the housing there to the right. It's not in the groove. The groove is a little bit down. Then you come at it from the top, and you basically use your needle nose pliers as a lever, and you push it. You need needle nose pliers this small in order to grab it, and you have to have your thumb on top of here pushing downwards. Otherwise, the action of the spring is going to want to eject this handle and then unwind itself again. Alright, there we go. So that was a pain in the ass, and now I immediately want to hit this thing through. At least get it started in the hole. Then I'll use my bolt. That way I can take my thumb off of this. Get it somewhat flush. And you can kind of see it needs to go a little bit farther. Alright, I think that should be good. And there's your door handle. Now just go reinstall it on the car. I'm going to show you what the door handle lever, how that works. When you pull your door handle in or out, this basically just goes left or right. And that's about all it does. And it's just that. It's simple. Now on the 5th gen and the MX6, there are 2 rods. And trying to get those 2 rods connected to your door handle is a pain in the ass when your door panel is installed. I recommend that you just go ahead and you take off your door panel, and I'll show you how easy it is when you take off your door panel. I bet you I could probably just do it with one hand too. The end of this rod just goes, oh, this has to be on this side. Okay, so the end of the rod just goes into that hole. Pretty much like that, okay, until it sits flush. Now, if you're installing this in the car, and while you're messing with it, and you're jiggling it around, and you're trying to get a foothold and trying to get this locking pin, this rod will just slip right out. So you have to be able to hold this rod up and into the handle before you get this locking tab on it. And that locking tab just clicks right on. Right onto it. And that is what prevents the rod from falling out of the bottom. And it holds the whole mechanism together. And so when you pull on the handle, it's basically going to move it in this direction. And when you let go of the handle, it's going to move it back. And that's all that happens with the handle. So for 4th and 5th gen owners, I recommend that you uninstall the door panel, then reinstall this onto your rod or rods, then reinstall your door panel and fit this back through. I don't know if you can fit this back through on the MX6. Like I said, I think it's a metal bracket and I don't know if you can fit that through. If you can, uninstall the door. It'll save you so much time. It will save you about a half an hour of just trying to mess with both of these rods and frustration. Trust me, trust me, trust me. Uninstall the door panel, then put this on. If you can, if it's possible, because you saw how I could do that with one hand while the door is uninstalled, and then once I install the door, it just pops right back into place, and then I screw it right in, and that's it. So that's a much easier method. Use that if possible. And just in case you want to see what it looks like when it's all finished, that's pretty much it. So that's a really nice upgrade for 4th gen owners. You can have chrome door handles and chrome courtesy light bezels. Cool.